everybody. My name is Barry Schwartz, and this is the SearchBuzz video recap. Today is March 11th, Friday, and I hope everybody has a great day today. First up, I published the March 2016 Google Webmaster Report, so if you want to catch up on everything that was big this past month, in, I guess February, please take a look at that recap, and you'll catch up on all the various things. There's lots of things that has happened, so definitely take a look at that. Big news this week was that Google actually finally and officially killed off the PageRank scores that you would see in the toolbar or any of the external tools that you would see. So the 0 through 10 Google PageRank scores. It officially started to go dark on March 7th, 2016, which was on Monday. And that's going to happen, slowly roll out over the course of the next 2 weeks, where all the data centers are going to lose that score and not be able to pass that score through to the Google toolbar, which is in like Internet Explorer 4, and some various tools that were able to scrape that toolbar factor, that's toolbar score. So that's officially and forever going to be gone, and you'll no longer be able to get to Google toolbar PageRank score. That's pretty big news, because again, nobody really should have used it in the SEO community, but it's something that's been in the SEO community for such a long time. Google really pushed it back in 2000, caused an epidemic around link building and buying PageRank and a whole market around that, and now it's gone. So that's why it's significant, not because it really should change any way you do SEO these days, but because of the history behind PageRank, especially toolbar PageRank. Google's Paul Har, one of the top engineers behind the core ranking algorithm, the 10 blue links, was at XMX West, and he said, in some level, we don't fully understand RankBrain. Here's some quotes. One says, whoops, sorry about that. Come on, iPad. So AJ Cohn said that quoting him, Google doesn't quite understand what RankBrain is doing. Google understands how RankBrain works, but not really what it is doing, stuff like that. It's basically, since it's artificial intelligence, the RankBrain algorithm is somewhat machine learning, and it does things by itself. It's not really, I don't think, Paul's area of expertise. He's more on the core ranking side. This is kind of a separate thing, and it's been implemented, but it hasn't been fully implemented in terms of its full potential, I assume. Google may expand their app install interstitial penalty because there are people who are doing these sneaky and deceptive alternatives. You ever use Yelp or other websites in your mobile browser will show these app interstitial ads that are fake. They're not real app interstitial ads. They're fake ones that are trying to go around Google's technical terminology for what would trigger the official app interstitial app penalty. So Google's John Mueller basically said the engineers are looking into alternatives. They may take manual actions if they notice these types of things. So don't try to sneak your way into doing these types of app interstitial ads, because again, Google does not like them. Sorry, my voice is still kind of trying to get better, so hopefully sooner than later. Google said this morning, John Mueller said this morning, that a site that's penalized by the Penguin algorithm, even back in 2014 with Penguin 3.0, since it hasn't run since, cannot be fixed manually. So if you're pleading to Google, hey, please fix my website. My site's been penalized since October 2014. I did everything I can to remove the bad links, but I'm still hit by the Penguin algorithm because it hasn't run yet. Google can't press a button to manually fix your website. It has to rerun. Of course, most of us know that, but figured I'd repeat it because Google said it. Google is showing a test where they're actually showing animated GIFs in the search results pretty much for the first time. I think Greg Sterling called these local business cards. So if you do a search, maybe I can bring it up. So if you do a search for let's see if it comes up here. Yeah, so you see here, this is like local cards, and you see they're animated. It's pretty intense. You wouldn't see animated GIFs anywhere, but here in the Google search results. And these are basically local cards. So Google's testing this with a few local businesses, so that's fairly interesting. Let's see what else we got here. John Mueller said this morning in the Hangout also, he basically said a lot of the questions he got, at least in this Hangout, and probably most Hangouts, is tell us the ranking factors. Tell us what we have to do to make our website rank a little bit higher than our competitors. And usually John Mueller, he goes through the basics in terms of technical implementation, duplicate content, hreflang, canonicals, core SEO fundamentals. But when it comes to all right, should I put my keyword in the H1 tag in the first word, the second word, or whatever? Those types of things he's not going to talk about. And he gave a 10-minute discussion about why and he basically said essentially for the long run, it is a lot of work for nothing. So that is why I'm skipping these questions. Basically saying that if I tell you to put the keyword in the first three words in your H1 tag, and then everybody does that, Google's going to look at the algorithm and say, well, now these irrelevant pages are showing up. We got to remove that as a ranking factor. So it's kind of go back and forth. Definitely worth watching if you want to know the rationale behind why Google isn't as exactly transparent about their ranking algorithm. Interesting enough, Google's Gary, I'm not going to pronounce his last name because he doesn't like when we do, basically said, if you have authorship on your page, keep it. They said this back in October 2015, even though they killed it back in 2014. So they killed authorship completely back in 2014, but then in October 2015, a year later, they said, if you have the authorship on your page, you keep it. It's okay. Keep it there because there might be some people, we might use it in the future. Then Gary basically said that again at XMX West last week. In fact, Gary actually said he's going to look into it again to see if it's even worth keeping. He actually said this yesterday after I wrote the article. Because Yoast, who powers the vast majority of the WordPress blogs out there, basically said, I can add it back. Just tell me if I should add it back. It'll take me a second or two to add it back. And Gary's like, don't bother. But he's like, well, it'll take me a second so I can add it back. So just let me know. Also coming out of XMX West is that back pre-2005, for probably around 5 years, Google used to test swapping position 2 and position 4. And what they noticed was that people clicked more often on position 1 when they did the swap. So because position 2 was so bad, because position 4 was obviously not as good as position 2, they would see a higher CTR, click-through rate, on position 1 when position 2 and 4 were swapped. This was something that came out of Paul Hart. It lasted for about 5 years or so, that test. And for some reason, they just ran that test forever, and they got rid of it back in 2005. Google's Paul Hart also said that the first part of the query analysis, when Google does a query analysis of the query, is entity discovery. So they can the reason they do this is because they want to show knowledge graph. And as soon as the knowledge graph came out, Google started pushing entity discovery as the first part of the query analysis in order for them to say, should we show knowledge graph or not? And if so, what should we show? Google is doing a massive site migration from their blogs, their official Google blogs, from the blogspot.com domain to the googleblog.com domain. They started with the Google Webmaster blog. I think they just moved the Google Search blog, and they're probably going to move a lot of other blogs in the near future. And John Mueller basically said it's their chance to actually see if they can follow their own guidelines around site migrations and site moves. So we'll be interesting to see how that works. So far, it seems to be working pretty well. Google's John Mueller gave an update on how they crawl and index JavaScript. It's pretty detailed. I would definitely take a look at that if you are into Ajax and progressive web applications and indexing around that. So Google's John Mueller posted an update. We have a recap of that on March 7th at seroundtable.com. Google has made some changes to their app indexing API for iOS apps. Specifically, one is they promised they will be supporting Bitcode support in about a month or two because that's the standard for iOS 9. And they also recently released a fix for for some type of energy bug where it was pulling energy from the device and also leading to some crashes. So definitely take a look at that if you have implemented the Google App Indexing API in your iOS apps. Google Search Console may be giving us some more features. It may go ahead in the future, not exactly sure when, but hopefully sometime in the future, they may go ahead and split out where people saw your search result. Was it in the featured snippet box? Was it in the AMP carousel? Was it maybe in the universal image searches or not? John Mueller basically talked about that. He said, we may use it for this, we may use it for that, and so forth. He said it might be coming up in the future. He didn't say when. He said it's probably far, far off. But it's definitely something that Google is thinking about and I think would be very useful. There are some tools that do this already. I think SEMrush does it as well as other tools, so definitely take a look at that. Google's Tom, the AMP expert in Google, who's in the Google search forums, Google Webmaster forums, provided some technical guidance on how to fix your AMP errors that you see in Google Search Console. So he listed 4 main points, went through them all. And if you are implementing AMP and you have if you have AMP errors in the Google Search Console, definitely take a look at that. This is interesting. The new Google News top news carousel gets this cool little feature where it toggles between top news categories. So if you type in news on your mobile phone and you click on the arrows, it will toggle between different categories: top stories, world, US, sports, etc., etc., etc. So that's pretty cool. It's a new UI change. Google AdWords is testing scrollable product listing ads, Google Shopping ads. So this was spotted by Shushan Sharma, and there's a little arrow here that lets you scroll between the different product listing ads, which is pretty cool. Google has vastly updated their mobile experience for destination search or travel search, so you can actually go ahead and plan your whole entire vacation directly in the Google mobile results, where it will actually show you pricing, consolidated pricing for flights and hotels, etc., based on your time frame and where you're going and so forth, and you can actually shift around to see what the best pricing is based on different time frames. So it's a very cool feature. You should definitely take a look at that if you do vacation at all. Google Analytics seems to have solved their refer spam issue. A lot of people are saying their refer spam issue has decreased significantly, and this started back about a couple weeks ago, and it seems to be holding on, which is great. This is something that happened probably almost a year ago now. And finally, the Google Dance was last week at XMX West. It was the first time we had the Google Dance in several years. Big kudos to Nathan Johns and Gary for bringing it back. My biggest takeaways from the event was that it really wasn't advertiser focused. It was really webmaster focused, which is a big deal. Google, they're trying to give this olive branch to webmasters. There was tons and tons of Googlers around, very important Googlers around, including this is Paul Har from Google. There was tons of them. It was all I didn't really see any AdWords Googlers around. I saw pretty much the organic side: Search Console, schema, AMP, app indexing, core search, manual actions, spam teams, search quality, and so forth. So they were all around talking to people. Gary and a bunch of the Googlers were actually handing out T-shirts, which is great. Webmasters, it made them feel happy that they were able to go to Google. The webmasters work with Google every single day. They work on Google. They try to spam Google. They try to improve Google. And for them to actually have a time to actually go and see Google is really a dream come true for many of them. Here's one that actually broke or sprained her arm at Google and said it was worthwhile because they got to meet Gary and so forth. David Besbris, he's one of the head honchos at Google, gave the opening hello. There were times where Larry and Sergey, back in the old days, came by the Google Dance. It's very rare, and having David there was a big thing, and people had a great amount of fun. It was pretty cool in terms of the funness that happened. Of course, one of the highlights was Matt Cutts showing up. Even though he's currently on leave, he has really no day-to-day operations at Google. In terms of, from what I know, it was great to see Matt Cutts. And finally, they actually had a private meeting, which wasn't so private because people posted pictures on Twitter. And they actually just talked about webmaster stuff and got feedback from a bunch of webmasters. That was pretty cool. In any event, thanks so much for listening to the Search Buzz video recap. My name again is Barry Schwartz, and this is the search news we covered over at the Search Roundtable, seroundtable.com. Today again is Friday, March 11th. Everyone have a great weekend, and I'll see you guys next. Bye.